Welcome back to another episode of the Black Cinema Experience podcast.
Podcast.
I'm your girl JB,
I'm Cameron.
and this week we're back with a super exciting episode. We tuned in to Emperor of Ocean Park. This is a series that's streaming currently on MGM, but can also be caught on Sling currently. We really like this one. It stars Forrest Whitaker and a few other big names. Cameron.
We have Grantham, Coleman, Tiffany Mack, and Simmons.
Henry Simmons. That is Queen Latifah's fine husband in Taxi. In case you were just like, oh, who, like that man, the man of my dreams. Um, this show is one of those shows that is like a drama, kind of a thriller. We start off with a murder of Forrest Whitaker, but is it a murder or is it just a normal natural death?
Exactly.
And then basically you're seeing these siblings fight it out with each other to figure out what's really going on. Like, no, nothing's happening, something is happening, and then they lose interest along the way. One has to step away for family issues, another one has to step away for family issues, and then they figure out what's really going on, like behind the scenes. So the whole time we're watching the show, we're solving this case with them.
A little mystery.
It's a little mystery, but it's all black. Like, Cameron, when you first turned this on, first episode, what were your thoughts?
I always like shows that involve Black people in the law, like not necessarily like police, but like lawyers and judges. I think that's such a interesting depiction for Black Americans to be like in positions of power, especially that type of power. So it always fascinates me. I love seeing like Black people in high places. That's what and obviously in this show he's running for Supreme Court justice or nominated. So it's like a huge, accomplishment. I love seeing elitist, I guess you could say. I look like the elitist blacks, if that makes sense. But the show just does so well at depicting like different angles from Black elites essentially.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really clever. I thought it was really fresh, and I loved it.
Speaking of that classism, that eliteness and all of that you just mentioned, something that I thought was very interesting about that is, even as elite as they were, they still had to be better than the white. They still had to think of the white in competition. They still had to be aware of them in a certain space. And it kind of brings it to the forefront that in America, no matter how elite, no matter how rich, no matter how much power you have, you still have to consider whites when you're Black, to a certain extent. Like how they were playing chess, and then the son was like, he cheated, daddy cheated, and his dad's like, no, have some honor, shake his hand. Like, you have to be smarter than them. It doesn't matter that he cheated. You still have to understand that's how they play. That's how society lets them play. And you have to make sure that even though they cheat, you still overcome that, because he was like preparing his son, like giving him that cushion, like, oh, the world isn't fair. It never will be. I'm sorry, you're Black. So
exactly.
No matter how rich and powerful I am, you still are going to have to be smart enough to basically outsmart the cheat. You know what I mean? You still have to be such a man of honor and just integrity that you figure your way out around these scenarios. So I thought that it was really interesting to see what I would deem as, like, yeah, elite Black, rich, wealthy, they have it all, like perfect family, straight A's, overachiever, like all of your kids are successful, no druggies.
Well, I think it's important to see, because I think people forget a lot of Black middle class is that way.
Yeah,
essentially. And even though they're like
exists.
even though they're on a higher, obviously, spectrum or in a different class in this show, I did like how they showed that, because Black people are not a monolith. And even though in this show, Judge Garland, who is Forrest Whitaker, is conservative, he's still very, very much pro-Black. It's not like a lot of stuff we see, especially in today's political climate. So it's really good to just see that.
You mean the shucking and driving?
Yeah, exactly.
You mean making greens in a bathtub? Trying to convince people that someone will eat your greens
exactly.
in a bathtub?
So like little stuff like that, I felt like that's why this show was so smart, especially at this time, like showing that Black people have always been very classy and always very eloquent and
etiquette first.
Exactly. And it's always been that way, but
because it wasn't an option.
And we had to, and like you said, it's always been that notion that we have had to be better, especially when you see stuff like this whole like affirmative action crap. Like Black kids just get like just random people from any poor neighborhood and just put them into Ivy League colleges, which we all know
That's not
this
the case.
is not the
That's
case,
not the case.
especially for a lot of black students because they have to be at the top of their class and do multiple things and have just such merit to
Yeah.
get into these schools. So
We're typically overqualified. And
exactly,
we already know.
all the time, and so just seeing this in this show and like you said, bringing that point to realization, I feel like you kind of see that throughout the entire show, especially since one of Judge Garland's not necessarily his rival, but also best friend
Mm-hmm.
is a white male, and just seeing how their relationship plays out, I feel like it's also really nice. I think it was very clever.
There's some interesting stuff about that whole thing.
It was an interesting dynamic,
I
definitely.
had a hard time. Now the only thing I had a hard time with on this show was Tal's character, which is played by Grantham
Grantham Coleman.
Coleman. He in a lot of ways plays the weaker, dumber, the runt of the pack of the siblings, right? Because you have him and you have Mariah, and Mariah is essentially a female pit bull. Like you sick her on a problem, like she's just smooth, she's slick, she's smart, she's fast wit, she's just like she's like everything, like
Exactly.
she definitely has her moments where she doesn't have the best character. She has her character flaws, but at the end of the day, like she's a strong character. The other brother, the one that's kind of like absent, Henry Simmons character.
Addison,
What did you say? Addison, yeah. Love that name too for a boy. I thought that was super cute. I loved the names. I was like, look how fancy we are. But even his character was strong in his silence, in his avoidance, in his like, this is what I said, and his boundaries. He was a strong character. But Talcott never really had clear boundaries. He was either a pushover, he didn't believe what was going on, he did believe what was going on, but was just unaware. Like he literally was like so not made for the streets. Like talk about a black man that was always caught off guard. He was just always making the wrong move. I mean, had no idea what to do in every situation. Like that season of his life that got really bad, it was terrible for him because he just didn't have the common sense to dig his way out. He was the most frustrating character to watch, almost as frustrating as the girl in Black Cake that was getting beat up on by her white boyfriend. That's how annoyed I was by watching Talcott fall into these little traps. Like, hey, what are you guys doing? That's my car. But yeah, they know. They know Tal.
I feel like it's very important to see that again. Like we talk about it all the time, especially with women characters. Like not all black women want to be strong and be these characters all the time. I think it's very important to show that there are these types of other, especially men that essentially aren't the macho go getter like his older brother was. And again, and showing, and I think showing like that distinction between him and his older brother and him and his older sister, and then even him and his little sister, him being a middle child. I feel like it was a very unique character to develop, and I really did enjoy that because at the end he does find his voice. He does start to stand up for himself, and showing that you can be reserved and still stand up for yourself, And I feel like that was really nice to see, and I feel like low-key a breath of fresh air because we're used to, especially our black male characters, like they always have to be like these huge, hardcore, like dominant men, like his older brother, like Addison's character, to be the hero. And so showing that this guy Talcott, like this soft-spoken, but I feel like very masculine man was, the end up being the hero essentially for his family. I thought that was nice to see, something different. I really feel like I haven't seen that.
I like that you said that, but like even with his character after watching the show, like I knew the character was written by a man because only a man would write another man so weak. Because women do, we fantasize, we lift men up, like okay, even when we write them bad, there's still some type of winning like characteristic, right? Like in Boomerang, like all the boyfriends that wasn't shit was still sexy. We were like, look how he looked. He had money. Like this, how he dressed. Like we're still gonna write a man in a certain way to be just like so like glorified, But for Talcott, he like kind of like in a lot of ways was like a square. And the girl that he falls in love with is a girl that came on to him, and she was in a relationship, so he's like really taking scraps. Like, and you just see him taking scraps like kind of the whole way. Like he's just taking whatever's handed to him. That's what made him such a hard character to deal with because it was like when it came down to solving the mystery, it was like his sister on the phone, like, do this. I said this. This is what it is. It's like, nigga, like, do you have any ideas? How are you this like big, great professor? Or maybe not a great professor. Maybe you're just a professor. But how are you like this successful adult, right? Making money and things like that, maintaining a family. But like your skills, your life skills are just this bad. And I guess that's like the point of the character.
Well, it's not just that. I just feel like, again, I feel like it had a sense of relatability to it because I feel like in a lot of these shows, we know it's fiction, but when you do something that's more realistic, like being in America, somebody getting nominated in you know a, very recent times, it was like 2007 was the latest it would go, and then to modern times, right, with the whole time period. So using the modern time period in this aspect, I feel like it was just it's good to see a character that doesn't have everything together. It's good to see a character that does need some developing, that does have some flaws, and not just flaws, but like flaws that men aren't supposed to have. Not like a man being soft spoken, more critical. You know, I want to say analytical, essentially, and being able to see that in a man and see him like start to thrive and start to get it together. I feel like that was very important to see, like especially in modern
I'm not
times.
sure if his character really grew. Like that's my thing. Like up until the final
Hmm.
episode, when he went upstairs into the basement, he
Hmm.
did not do any type of check around the house, right? He gets to the house, the power's not working. He doesn't walk around the house to make sure the house is empty. He doesn't
Hmm.
do anything like that. He finds the bear through some type of miracle, finds the bear, finds the key, and gets beat up with this old man in the house. He just could not see it coming possibly that someone would be at the house waiting. Like there was never a
Hmm.
moment in this show,
Hmm.
the whole 10 episodes, where he wasn't being followed by somebody. So you're just gonna walk into this house with the lights completely off, do no preliminary searches,
I do
carry
agree.
no weapons.
Mhm.
Like again, the common sense of an ant wasn't with this man. Okay, but he like okay, and let me say this. Let me say this because I'm actually a fan of Grantham Coleman. I watch him in BMF as Ronnie. He is a stellar character. Ronnie actually doesn't say much. He plays the machismo character
Mhm.
that Addison plays, where he's kind of like the quiet figure, but he's like kind of crazy because
Mhm.
so he kills people like he's crazy. His acting is off the chart.
Impeccable.
Grantham is amazing and
Mhm.
got also beautiful, like
Absolutely.
to look at. I'm like, Jesus, what a piece of art. I just don't care for the weak male character,
Mhm.
and I do feel like only men write men that weak, and it's because they're
Mhm.
giving each other grace in their
Mhm.
writing. Women aren't giving men grace like
Mhm.
in their writing. We're like, oh, man comes saves the day, man
Mhm.
comes beats the hero, man comes and makes her feel better,
Mhm.
like. But when a man writes a man, he writes a man to be vulnerable.
Mhm.
He writes his own vulnerabilities that he's too afraid to showcase. I think.
Mhm.
What is the name of the writer? Do you still remember?
No, I think it's
Stephen
Sherman, right?
Stephen Carter and Sherman.
Stephen Carter's the creator.
Oh,
No, he's the creator of the book. It's based off of a book. The series based off of a book,
right,
so
right.
we don't know if it's coming out with future seasons. I think this was it was it's a just a beautifully done one season, strong 10 episode, 1 hour in
Yeah,
length. So
yeah,
you still got it's a good watch, but I think this is the only season.
yeah. It might be the only season, and that's okay.
See, it was Sherman Payne.
Yeah, Stephen Carter wrote the book,
Is Sherman
and
Payne's the
Sherman
creator?
Payne adapted it for TV.
Yeah, who is a black male writer?
Both roles are important, but like
Yeah.
as a writer, like I'm sorry, if I were to write a book, I don't give a who adapted it to TV. That's my story. It isn't Sherman Payne. Good job reading my book, Stephen Carter. That's
And
what
coming up
Stephen
with
Carter
my
said.
characters and
He
yeah.
said, "Great job adapting my story I gave you and putting lines with it. Good
Well,
job."
he did. I feel like he did a good job again,
He
and I,
did.
I, I definitely agree with you saying like how women write. They don't have as much grace for men. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
that it can definitely be um, also debated, but I definitely agree with it. But I do again. I just want to say I really do like a lot of the male characters because there was such a good variety. Seeing Forrest Whitaker's character as Judge Garland, who they even refer to as Judge. They don't call him Dad,
Yeah.
but the thing is that they have such respect and love for their father.
Yeah.
But to call him the judge, and to just see the love he had for his children and also their mom, it was just like it was so good to see such a like upstanding family, like a strong family. Kind of reminds me most kind of the
You
Obamas
just
in real
said it
life.
again. Strong.
Yeah, but like strong family, strong as far as like everybody supports each other. Like
Yeah.
everybody was. Like no, there are no crackheads. Again, not saying you
Yeah.
can't have a strong family and somebody veer off, but to see just see like a good family, like steady family,
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah.
It's just so nice to see on television and to see it all be
But
literally throughout the entire season.
that's what made Grantham's character like the little
Mhm.
ugly duckling of it all. Because like everybody was so strong.
Mhm.
The mama was
Mhm.
strong. Forrest Whitaker strong. Mariah
Their
strong.
younger sister,
Addison
but
strong.
I'm
I
saying
mean,
Abigail,
Abigail,
the
right?
younger sister, is
Strong.
strong. Yes,
All of them strong.
but
And then you have Talcott who holds his head down. And there's a lot of parts in the
mhm.
show where he's walking around literally with
looking
his
down.
head
Well, I'm
down.
saying because you have to understand too, if all these everybody in this whole family is strong, there's gonna be one person that's just like may
Yeah.
not be as strong as everybody else. But also, you see the judge use that to his advantage because he knew like he was strong in other ways. As far
But
as
come on, man. The nigga at the end was like, why couldn't you find the white piece? I put it in there next to your book. You're supposed to find the piece.
he
He
was
wasn't
like, I
even
have it in
doing
my
like
book. He's like, I have it on my laptop. He's like, yeah. But I do agree with you. Like, okay, like some dumb mistakes were made, especially like
he made a lot of dumb
you don't
mistakes.
think you've seen people following you this entire time, like you said, and
Yeah.
then now you just don't think anybody's following you into like the
Which
most important part of the plot where you feel
now
like you know where the arrangements are.
now you letting girls in your house cook you dinner that have been following you, chasing you in the street. You know they got weapons.
You're getting shot at.
You're sleeping with them.
Exactly.
You're sleeping with
But which
them.
is also why this show is really good because it does involve like there's action in there like which I was not expecting like
Yeah.
and it's shot well like it takes a turn.
Oh my gosh, yeah, shot so well. Like
Mhm.
this is the type of show that you would have imagined would have been like how Scandal was. Like you tune in
Exactly.
and you see it every week. You
Mhm.
know, you got the black woman and her white husband. You got the black playboy handsome brother. You got the nerdy brother
Mhm.
and Forrest Whitaker. I mean, Forrest Whitaker is law. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? In a lot of ways, like he's an authority figure. He's definitely worked his way up in Hollywood. He's so
Yes.
respected.
Mhm.
Such a great director, such a great writer as well. So to see him be a part of this project, I'm
Mhm.
absolutely just like I'm happy he's still working. I'm happy he's still creating. He to me gets he's like wine.
Mhm.
Just every time I see him in something else, I'm like, you're getting better and better and better.
And he's doing a lot too. Like he's still doing the Godfather of Harlem. Like,
Yeah,
and I like to see that, especially our older black actors, like still flourishing in
yeah.
this time and still and putting out just really good content. And I feel like positive content that not just depicts black people in just one way. You
Yeah.
know, again,
He does do a lot of serious works though.
yeah.
I wonder if he has a funny bone.
He has to.
He does a lot of serious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No, for real. Like think about how many times you watch him on TV and like laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nah, you focus. You know, he's like disciplining these children. They gotta learn. And then he got his own kids acting.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's really building his legacy. He knows
Mm-hmm.
what he's doing.
I know he also works with the social I won't say social justice. I want to say sociology department at Cal State Dominguez Hills.
Oh wow.
So he like does a lot of
He gives back philanthropy.
philanthropy. Is what I was
Yeah.
looking for. Yeah.
I love that.
See, I just this is all around good
Yeah.
good person.
It's excellent blacks. It's the superior blacks. It's like blue veins without, being blue veins. It's just
But I also wanted to ask you though, how do you feel about this particular show? Like, do you feel like it's something that uh the culture like it should be a part of the like black culture, like um as far as like seeing these types of images, black people. I know a lot of black people don't like necessarily. I won't say black people, but people in general don't like necessarily crossing the line of like law and order, and especially how black people are treated. Do you feel like that can be sometimes looked kind of like in a negative light, like seeing a show like this, like a black man being a judge when so many black people are done wrong by the criminal justice system?
you know what's really interesting about that question too is that they made Forrest Whitaker's character break the law
Mm-hmm.
and he did bad things,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even though he was a man of honor and
Mm-hmm.
integrity, etc. Right? Um, I don't mind the whole law mix up. We
Mm-hmm.
know a lot of law.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it was created to kind of like keep us bound. So
police
we
us.
have to know to police us. We're the ones that are getting policed on a more consistent, more often basis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's just like be honest, like black people and white people are not getting pulled over the same ratio. So like when it comes down to it, we should know the law. So seeing them mesh the law in with this whole family values type of thing, to me was just a beautiful story. It's just about power and structure, and that's exactly what Forrest Whitaker gave.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, this this was a strict Fresh Prince. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
literally,
Uncle Phil,
literally.
no smiles, like Forrest Whitaker. You know, he's the law. What I say goes. So yeah, I don't mind seeing the matchup like that. Now it was a little bit awkward for me to see the scene where Grantham gets beat up by the police after he
Mm-hmm.
gets jumped. Because again, like where was the common sense before you got jumped? First of all,
Mm-hmm.
secondly, when the police did do that, there was a lot of things you could have said in that moment. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I get that's how they wrote the character,
Mm-hmm.
that's how they wrote the scene. But I don't know if I'm laying on the floor after being attacked. I'm going to maybe say two men just robbed me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or something. I don't know. He just said, "No, I'm not the attacker. I was attacked." I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. Like there's a lot of okay. Anyways, I
No,
don't even want to lead on
no,
that one.
no. I feel like there were definitely some uncomfortable moments, especially with like how Talcott would react to certain situations, which was very very frustrating. But again, I feel like that was just
Who he was.
that's just literally who he was.
It's like that person who's just a little bit awkward, and you're like, "Could you just be a little bit normal?" And they're like, "But
Just a
I
little
can't.
bit
But I
today.
can't. But I can't." That was him.
But I also liked how I also wanted to talk about like grief, like black people grieving because uh, there's a lot of quote unquote grief in this show as far as obviously Judge Garland being murdered or dying natural causes. I feel like we kind of know, we still don't know. I think
Yeah, they never
they
really.
never really, and you'll watch it and you'll see. But then also their mother passing, and then also the tragedy of their youngest sister
Right.
being murdered, and like them having to like I don't want to say trauma bond, but low key like having to still come together, especially them being the last three, Addison, Mariah, and Talcott. I feel like seeing that in the show was like I feel like it was really important to show like how important it is to see black people sit together after such tragedy, you know. But do you feel like it was like portrayed in like? Do you feel like they brought in the aspect of trauma bonding in the show, or it was just like just
No.
a part of the?
No, I don't feel like that at all.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of different moments that the siblings were ready to write each other off.
Mm-hmm.
Addison was always ready to write his siblings off. He was never interested in being a part of anything they had going on. Matter of fact, he didn't step in to help until the very last
Yeah,
moment.
he was really really distant. Like.
He absolutely did not a part of it. Mariah was only interested in Talcott's life or
Mm-hmm.
being a part of it in any way, shape, or form because she wanted to get to the bottom of this case.
Mm-hmm.
She was a journalist trying to chase a story, and she knew that he had more information and could have been more helpful than he was being.
Mm-hmm.
And because he was too stupid to help himself, she had to pull out of him the answers to solve the problems that his daddy gave him the answers to. Like this is it was like ridiculous. Like Talcott, you really had the keys like essentially the whole time, and you're the only nigga who had the keys, who knew how to find the keys and just couldn't figure it out. Oh, I don't know what's going on. Why are you like this? Like the whole show was essentially about helping Talcott read the signs that he was given. It was like everybody left him a map, and he was like, "How do I use this? I don't know." So, anyways, when it comes down to that, Mariah was only interested in Talcott
Mm-hmm.
for that part of it because she was chasing that story. Even after that was over, I don't think that she was like, brother, bestie, because there was a whole part where they were
Mm-hmm.
like, F you, F you.
No, yeah,
It got
it got
heated.
intense.
And it did it immediately, which lets you know that they really don't fuck with each other for real. So, yeah, that's.
Dang.
No, I don't think that there was a trauma bond because of the death of their sister. I do think that that was sad.
Mm-hmm.
And that they all experienced it together. But I did not see like a trauma bond in that way.
And I think they really did show grief handled very well and like differently in the show, like but throughout how all the characters express themselves. And I really liked how they use a lot of hip hop in the show too to
Yeah,
kind of like narrate the world around them, especially around Taka, because even though he's like a nerdy boy, he loves his hardcore rap, uh, loves Nas, and you know, gotta love Nas. So I really love how they like really incorporated hip hop too.
yeah, yeah. I'm a fan of it. But yeah, when you said that it was shot well, it was shot extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
It was shot like an episode of Scandal. Like perfect. Like you're catching all the
Literally perfect.
moments. Very
Mm-hmm.
dramatic. You're getting all the angles. It's very good. So I enjoyed this show deeply. Cameron put me onto the show a couple weeks ago. I wish I would have saw it as soon as it came out because I would have told you guys about it immediately. But now that I'm caught up, we can talk about it a little bit more.
I think it's the first time I gave you a show because it's usually you giving me the
That's 'cause I'm
show.
controlling.
No, I'm saying with you because I feel like you're like good at finding good shows. So.
That's why I watch all TV
Like
all
all
day,
my
all
friends,
night.
like you, Marissa Floyd, just give me all the good shows, and I never give y'all good shows.
Yeah, stingy. But either way, this one is definitely a what score would you give this? Like as far as Netflix series, or I'm sorry, this is an MGM or on Sling. As far as series go, what type of score would you give this? Scale of 1 to 10.
I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it a 9.5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, I would give it a 9 as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just really, really, really care for the great portrayal of Black people.
Yes.
And I do also appreciate that they didn't have to magnify any other races in this film. Like yes, the uncle that was corrupt was white, right? But he was corrupt.
Yeah.
You know, like he was white, look at that one. So I was okay with that. I really just enjoyed that we didn't have to like make them bigger than they are.
Yeah.
Like Mariah, like a lot of her family was saying how her white husband was like her savior essentially. Mm-hmm. But like she never treated it like that. Like and the reality was like she was really bringing him down.
Yeah.
Like he should have kicked her to the curb, okay? Like you should get a new wife.
What
are you talking about?
She really loved him. She just didn't want to be a housewife, and that's what he really essentially wanted because he had the money. But she wanted to do her journalism. But she ended up, doing a housewife thing and then also doing her own thing.
Yeah, he was putting up with her shit for her. She was up one night just looking at articles and like she not communicating. My problem was that all these people had these people in their lives that love them.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I'm single and nobody loves me.
I feel that, yes.
You're like if I had someone to talk to about my life problems, I'd be like, honey, you're not gonna believe
Let
this.
it flow. Let it flow.
They were like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna figure it out by myself. I'm not gonna tell my husband. He could be in on it. Like, damn. Like, talk to your. He got up in the middle of the night. Was like, I'll get it. I'll get the kids because she was on her phone scrolling. Get real. That man was going through it with her. Anyways, for me, I would give it a 9 too because I enjoyed seeing the exquisite Black family be excellent at all things. Because the truth is, we're always working super hard. We're always going above and beyond. We are the exceptional characters in our real worlds. Like I know in my life, I'm the exceptional character. Like at my job, I'm the exceptional character. In my friend groups, I'm the exceptional character. So like we really do work hard to be exceptional. So to see a show where we're finally being represented, like no one had to be putting up with BS. The girl wasn't dealing with some loser boyfriend. The guys weren't dealing with loser girls either. Like everybody was like
successful.
Playing,
And even though, like you said, Talk Out was like a little soft spoken, I feel like everybody was aware of who they were though.
Yeah.
And kind of had
he had passion and pride for his job too.
Yes,
he wasn't just a loser. He wasn't just a loser.
He wasn't an actual loser. He's just a loser.
He just didn't know how to speak up for himself. Yeah. Being that fine, not speaking up for himself. I couldn't even imagine.
It can never be real life.
But yeah, that's it. That's all we have for you guys in this episode, guys. Make sure you guys check out Emperor of Ocean Park, again starring Forrest Whitaker and Henry Simmons and Anthony Grantham. And Grantham Coleman.
And Tiffany
Mack. That girl is an actress. Yeah, and Tiffany Mack. So make sure you guys check it out. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And thanks again for watching the Black Cinema Experience Podcast.